It's like a HBO movie. It's essentially about like an American Murdoch family as Murdoch dies and all the kids struggle to take over this like billion-dollar industry. It's like a media conglomerate.
Interesting. And so, what's it called? Kieran McCulkey. What's
Culkin?
Kieran McCulkey. Yeah, McCulkin.
Yeah, Kieran McCulkin.
God, it's so hard to say for some reason. So he's the Freemason in the family or something in this, or he's just going to be the one who's trying to take over. He's got the secret.
I mean, the plot is that they're all trying to take over, except for the dude on the right, which is Ferris Bueller's friend. I can't remember his name. He was also in Spin City, I think.
That's based.
Cameron.
There you go.
When Cameron was in Egypt land, let my Cameron go. That's how
God. Well, you were also talking a second ago about like Eyes Wide Shut. We were thinking about the Eyes Wide Shut mansion and how they used. It was interesting that they actually used an actual Rothschild mansion to film that. Do you have any thoughts on that, or what were we saying about that? Just like they must have gotten permission in some respect to do this and say, okay, it has to look like a Rothschild mansion.
Well, my understanding was that it was supposed to be an homage in part to the surreal dinner balls of like the 70s that Salvador Dali and everyone would show up wearing all these like surrealist costumes, but that it was kind of mixed with that plus, you know, maybe other stuff that Kubrick knew about. I guess that's where all the speculation comes into that movie.
Stuff. Yeah, but they let him do it. You know, it's kind of like
that's the wild part. Yeah, they actually let Kubrick get in there and shoot these scenes inside the actual Rothschild mansion.
Well, I did make several posts about Nightingale, you know, the pianist.
Yeah,
Todd Fields.
Well, because you know, his name is featured on the cover of The Economist, right? That was the year of 2020. Yeah, 2020. That was the year that they had that. But yeah, you probably have to. I can scroll up for you.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know exactly where. Whoa, though! Check out this giant pig.
Oh yeah! Oh, that's a hippo. That's a
hippopotamus.
Pablo Escobar. He brought in like several African hippos, right? Because the hippos existed in South America, and then after he died, after he got shot and killed in 93 again, these went wild because nobody wanted to take care of them, and they just
are they successfully breeding, or they're like oh, that's awesome.
There's like hundreds of them now, like hundreds.
Oh yeah! I can't wait to see that proliferate. I am a hippo. That is the best mother-loving hippo.
It actually formed a hippo economy. So the locals said, "Don't kill them." But everybody said, "No, these things are pooping everywhere, just clogging up the waterway, eating all the grass." and the government wants to get rid of them, but the locals are, "No, this is the economy. People are making money off of these animals." You know,
I'm sure. Yeah,
they have tourism everywhere. You know,
they probably are good secret keepers with their Hippocratic oath. You know,
hippo.
Yeah.
God.
No, is that why the Egyptians revered? What is it? What is the thing?
The goddess hypocrites.
But like 237.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I get the vibe though. There's something to that. I don't know how far I'd have to go though to get to the particular one.
Let me look for it. Let's see.
I think did we talk about this? I think that they're just crashing Bud Light so they can buy Amstel Bush for Benrock or Black Rock and Vanguard, you know, like it's just easier to pick up the stock because they like consolidated their market. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, this is really bizarre. Do you see this one? I just kind of associated by the visuals, but this is in Milan. It's in one of the churches, and in the cathedral, and then they did this crazy. Like this flaming bird, like this phoenix, just flying through the whole church. So
I think of Oculus when I see that symbol, because Oculus, they said at ground zero was a dove of peace, but it's also obviously an eye. So you have this kind of Vesica Pisces of it, like, so if you look at that OTO symbol, you have the eye of On above. The dove of peace with the chalice there, and it's just like, is that, when I'm looking at Oculus, I'm like, is this just a signature of the OTO? Like, it feels like that to me, but I don't freaking know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, other than that, I have no idea. I just thought it looks exactly like the symbol.
So, like, is this like an ancient thing to launch a rocket?
I
think a Pink Floyd concert.
Yeah, it's kind of different.
It's a gimmick. They want to recruit some Muslims. You know,
They're all clapping and taking pictures, but every time I've lit off fireworks in church, it hasn't gone as well.
I know, right? I don't know.
That's because
So
renegade style, right? This is organized. I want to talk about Bud. You scrolled past the Bud Light thing with Dylan Mulvaney and the
let's do
and
it.
the
Honestly, Dylan Mulvaney is the expression of a generation. Dylan Mulvaney is the personhood of the human condition. People right now are taking whatever corporations can give them to become more themselves, and here is the selfie. So.
Right, but just like from like a sync perspective, like the history of Bud. So Bud used that that Greek image of Zeus with where he's carrying. There's like the homosexual Zeus thing where Zeus had sex with this dude. You know what I'm talking about?
Several times he did.
It's not gay if you're like an antelope, though, right?
Yeah. What is it? What is that called? I forget. But like
Zeus times he had sex with animals. I don't
you
know.
could even put in Budweiser and it'll show
Beer?
up. It's not just an animal. It's like
he became a swan or something.
No, it's an eagle. And he's carrying the person. And so there's like a whole argument that's like the origin of Anheuser-Busch's eagle thing in the first place. Has to do okay, come on, man.
What if I just type Zeus?
Type in Budweiser, you're gonna find like gay websites from like long ago, like talking about Budweiser's support of like
it's Ganymedes, Ganymedes, right?
Yeah, thank you. That's it. Yeah.
All right.
That sounds right. Yeah. So you have that, and then you have the Clydesdale, the horses, the like Trojan horses, and how they used so if you watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind, there's like right before he sees the Devil's Tower on the television while he's building the thing in his garage or whatever with plants and stuff. He's like this means something with his mashed potatoes, and then he like constructs that thing. And then the television is playing, and it plays the Budweiser advertisement where it's "Here Comes the King." And so there's like a weird connection with the "Here Comes the King" from that, and like the Beatles' "Here Comes the Sun King," and like even like this is an old commercial, so like I forget, I have to look it up again. But there's a weird thing with like the timing of those, where it's like 1 year before the other or whatever. Like it almost seems like fucking the Beatles were either responding to Budweiser, the Budweiser was responding.
Behold some pale horses, you know what I mean, right there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just it, and so that plays in Close Encounters right before it shows you the Devil's Tower, which is like everything ready from the dark side of the moon or whatever. So yeah, weird.
Lest we forget Bundeswehr, right? So like the origin of the name of Budweiser, right? Which is also connected to the armed forces of Germany. And if you think about it, like Catholic missions across the world, you can go find out where the Catholics have been because they leave these like holocaustic genociding temples and shrines by the side of the freeway in San Mateo. And if you drive on the 101, there'll be like a mission right in the middle of the highway where they don't want to build a town because it's like poltergeist. Like it's a terrifying place of just death, But wherever the Germans have been, you can also find them because they've just got breweries around the world. I don't know if I can find a picture, but basically everywhere you go, there's breweries. The Germans built breweries. So if you go to South America, you'll find a lot of German breweries. If you go to Mexico, you'll find German breweries. You'll see the Iron Cross, like Tecate beer has this has an iron eagle, you know what I mean? Sure. So like once you start noticing it, you're like, oh, okay, there's another thing going on here with this Order to the Black Sun and their control of these beverages. Like they control Coca-Cola, but they've also controlled beer and breweries for centuries, right?
Is there any specialty to like German culture? Do they have the to make beer?
Chinese
you
beer?
Need hops. You need hops, right?
Yeah. Tsingtao was a German brewery too.
Anything special about Tsingtao? There you go. That's the most popular one in China.
And it was German.
It's German.
Right. That's
But Germany actually invaded China during the Manchurian era. I don't know. Yeah,
they are. They are deciding that you're gonna make wheat and hops and make beer. There it is.
We're gonna drink it
I
at room
teach you
temperature.
something about the Black Sun.
Look how happy these kids are that they're holding. Yeah, I don't know exactly. So beer breweries are pretty much as bad as missions in a sense, but maybe better because people are drunk. I don't know. It could be its own thing. But so breweries all around the world, they're essentially colonies, and they're the if they're not the colony, they're the evidence of the colony, because wherever a colony is, you're gonna find the brewery.
It's kind of like Osiris pushed forward to like the zillionth degree, you know, like if you just like the Osirian like celebration with the wheat, you know, and then everything was fermented for the Egyptians, and then it's just like, I don't know, it's like paying culture forward in some crazy way, you know.
So I want to know about the eagle and Ganymede. How does the eagle come from a gay Zeus and Ganymede?
Yeah, so like what I'm saying, I saw this years ago. Yeah, you can find if it's still online, like there's like blogs and articles and stuff that like lay out Budweiser's advertising towards gay people from way long ago. Like they've tried to appeal to gay culture for a long time, which is, it's kind of funny. It reminds me of the movie Beer with Rip Torn, where it's like, do you know what I'm talking about, with the Norbecker, where they're like, if you're tough enough, and then like they like had this whole thing where it's like when they came up with like
ad right here.
This is what I'm telling you, man. Like, and there's a bunch of these ads. Like they really made like a directed advertising campaign towards gay people. Like it's cool. Like
modern vision of Ganymede introducing. Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting. So Budweiser has always been the gay beer, but we've made a joke about.
But this is another level. This isn't just about. Yeah, this is something else. This is the tea, you know. So like it's interesting. Like they're treating this with the same attitude as like, well, this is just, you know, about inclusivity or whatever. But it's also very divisive, because you're looking at you know, influencers with a very particular kind of polarized bent on things. So a lot of people when it comes to you know, Dylan and who's this other guy, what's his name, or
this guy
name?
Something tells me it doesn't work out for Ganymede in those photos.
Well, yeah.
No.
I think that's kind of but he's got the bottle and he's being carried off to the nest, or what do you think?
I mean, talking about the symbolism, that red cloak does not represent anything good. That pretty much just looks like blood flowing.
Well, you know what? Somebody just mentioned Ganymede is the biggest moon of Jupiter. How does that feel?
Are they pouring the blood of Ganymede into the bottle? It looks like the bottle is like at an angle, or is it pouring out? It's pouring out of the bottle. So the blood of Ganymede is pouring out of the bottle.
Yeah, that's right. It's his left arm.
So you're drinking the blood of Ganymede. They've been saying it for years, man. That's crazy.
That's crazy, and it tastes like clear piss. That's incredible.
No, it's just a clear warning about the beer goggles. Okay, you got to be careful after you a few cups.
That's
taking home a few Ganymedes.
That's an interesting. That's an interesting thing.
I thought you was a girl.
Most people thought that Budweiser was always kind of weird, and I think Bud Light is kind of weird. Like for a while there was like Budweiser felt normie patriotic or something. Like it was like if you were just an American, you could drink Budweiser in the middle of the country or something like that. I don't know, but it seems like people were always into Coors or something, and Budweiser was always scary somehow.
Well, when you said Bud, you said it all, I think, was their thing, and I thought maybe they were implying something about like the bud of a plant or something. I don't know what's going on.
You know, what about cigarettes? You know how they all have the crown symbol, like in almost every brand.
Sure, there's that, and then
what is that? What is that symbol?
Ask Jason Barrera, dude. Jason Barrera is all over that.
It's actually the queen. Yeah, it's actually the.
These are hyper royal families, man.
Right. So what do we see on Marlboro? It says Vinny Vitivici on packs of Marlboro. But then, we've discussed this before. And then because you have in Pell Mell, it says, by this sign you will conquer in Latin, which was a Constantine quote, which was in reference to the cross in front of the sun, right? So where you have that circle with the cross, like spreading Christianity. But it gets kind of interesting because it's like, what are you conquering exactly? Like everybody's lungs?
Well, I think when they first found tobacco, though, it kind of represented like a next level in thinking. Everyone just kind of jokes now because you go to like the corner store and just buy a pack of smokes.
Right. It was like trashy, a peace pipe, and it was DMT rich, and it was used for...
Exactly. I think you got way higher off of, old school tobacco the way that they talk about it
You
versus
still
doing
can
it
if you
today.
go to like Peru and you get real tobacco.
I've grown it myself, and then
Yeah.
shredded it, did the whole thing, and like it's pretty good. It's harder to, in my experience, it's harder to get a good burn with it, but I think it has to be done just right, cured just right, you know.
Dude,
but
Mapacho, that's, I mean,
there's
some weirdly strong tobaccos in the rainforest that are like hallucinogenic, and you should be very careful with, because they're also scopolamine rich, so those are also deliriants, and they're used by like the brujas and brujos, you know, the shamans and witches and stuff, as much as ayahuasca or anything else.
Right, it's actually considered the what is it, the brother of ayahuasca, so like I don't know, the male equivalent of ayahuasca, which is female, traditionally.
Don't forget the Shining also, the correlation with the Calumet, right? The Calumet, in the kitchen.
All roads lead back to Kubrick.
Everything, all of them.
It's right in the background, right? Basically, if you smoke some of this, you get to shine. You get to speak to dead people.
Smoke baking powder.
Baking powder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
Well, for Native Americans, tobacco was considered smoking tobacco was considered protection in the land of the dead, so to speak, or something along those lines, which I think was the argument in Dead Man. Why the guy's always looking for tobacco. He's like, do you have any tobacco? And then he finally gets it at the end when he's like, and they incorporated the just the sticks, but the like APEP and the what is the in the Duat, the river that runs through the Duat for the resurrection of Osiris once again. For the Egyptians. But yeah, no, there's like a whole, there's Egyptian symbolism in Dead Man, and there's obviously like traditional Native American symbolism all over the place. But you know that movie? You guys know what I'm talking about? Neil Young did the soundtrack. It's pretty incredible.
I don't.
Everyone keeps on asking him, like, because he's William Blake, and so people are like, oh, I love your poetry. He's like, you've read my poetry? Wow. Like, he's all like, but he's not William Blake. Like, he's another William Blake, but he's never heard of like the other William Blake. So he's like going around,
distinguished gentleman.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that's kind of funny that we've got the same symbolism reoccurring then over and over again. So they're not even like really rebranding. They're just kind of centering the thing back to what it was always for, you know. And it seems like a lot of things that we go through, people get so upset about in our culture. They're just returning to the way things used to be, right?
They're trying to, but things aren't the way they used to be, and that's the thing. And when you're relating to like types of activism that you did at one time in another era, and you're being like, this is the movement now, like a lot of movements emerged from the culture itself, from like the regular people. Now we have a lot of movements that are kind of impressed upon us by like a smaller groups, you know. And that gets tricky then, because at one level you want to protect minorities, and at the same time you don't always know what is the actual cause that's emerging from us, or whether or not for different vested interests of why it is that we might be basically being told what our causes is. It's that the revolution will not be televised issue, but in this case it's more like the apocalypse will not be televised. But you know.
It seems like kind of biological. So if you have a parasite that protects its host, you know what I mean? Because it's beneficial to the parent. So the corporation is benefited by making sure a certain kind of consumer exists. And so if people became autonomous, that would be a problem. So you try to stop them from becoming autonomous. But also, you know, people that otherwise wouldn't be able to continue being consumers are somehow perpetuated just so that consumers can continue to exist and thrive and reproduce. And so we've gotten to a position where we're like silkworms that can't breed or like take care of ourselves or anything without a corporation.
But it's an extension of, they used to really try and find out what do people want so that you can sell to consumer culture. Then they had focus groups and all these things, and over time it became a matter of like us being told what we want, or engineered, conditioned to embrace these other things. Because like if you did the same thing, if you did what you did in the 50s and 40s or whatever, where when you're making products, you're manufacturing them to last as long as possible, and that's your selling point. Like, you can only do that for so long before people, it's like the light bulb conspiracy. It's like, who the hell is going to want, you know, to like
this is actually one of my
Right.
favorite theories is planned obsolescence, where things are like made to break after a certain amount of time. They're made to be like single use.
Apple got in trouble for that with one of their iPhones, right? That they found that they actually had
it would
a
programmatically slow itself down over time and start
Yeah.
charging a little bit less. Yeah, it would
And
like
then
stimulate the decay of its technology.
Shout
Right,
out
and it was
to Arm
specific
Borax
timeline,
for
too.
NGC. Thank you for the 10 Australian dollars. I appreciate that. Hello, Space Bean. Did you see Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars?
Oh my god!
No, is that
Wait,
sequel?
is this a new one?
No, it's not a new one. This one's like, you know, a sequel, but it's not a new one. What happens is they're in the apartment of the boy now, I think, and there's a bunch of old. He likes to fix electronics and things like that, so they're kind of a community, and they have to go to Mars. I don't remember why, but
how far off was this from Batteries Not Included?
Different story, similar timing.
Okay.
Basically, I think Batteries Not Included is a year earlier, maybe 2 years earlier.
Mm.
But Batteries Not Included has Wendy Shaw, which is great. So just on principle. But basically, they go to Mars and they find out that there's a bunch of electronics have ended up on Mars because they suffered from planned obsolescence. And it's kind of this thing where to get to Mars, you had to make so many light bulbs that died or so many electronics that died that people bought all this stuff that they had to get to Mars, you know. But now they've gotten to Mars, you know, because they've sold electronics and gotten rockets and everything. And the electronics have fixed themselves and they have a whole new community on Mars of electronics that are, you know, that have gotten away from planned. They have a whole song and dance number about planned obsolescence, which is pretty good.
It's awesome.
Speaking of Mars, you know, the Elon Musk rocket didn't launch yesterday. It was moved to 420.
Yeah, I saw that. I should go back up to that. So there's going to be Hitler's birthday.
Hitler's birthday, and the rocket is what is that? It's 119 feet tall.
Here we go. Here's the
119, 911. And so this and there's going to be a solar annual you know, the total eclipse, but not covering the ring eclipse, right? So it's going to happen the same day. I'm like, this is not a good thing. Why do you want to launch on the solar?
Well, it's clever because, you know,
perfect.
I feel like they've been pushing really hard to rebrand Hitler's birthday for a while, you know, and like the weed thing's kind of taken a sway. Most people, I think that's kind of effective. So if they add like a solar eclipse rocket launch, you know, I think that could be the new 420 for people, and they'll just forgive and forget.
It's amazing how much effort it takes to sort of like balance out all of the dirt that he threw on. Like there's still certain shapes that you're not allowed to even look at, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy for a single movement or a single person to own like such abstract shapes throughout history and just concept. Yeah, here we go. I always forget the name of this when I try to bring it up.
I would just do the nano Gamadian. If you type in Gamadian, you'll get the Greek root. But like, it's fine if you're 2 and 2 has to equal 4 sometimes. If you're making math, you know, like if you're doing engineering, okay, now you're allowed to use. If you're making a photon turbine, fine, you're allowed to know about this. But otherwise, go back to sleep.
But you better call it a Gamadian.
You gotta call it a Gamadian. But that's like a minor inconvenience. It's a little racist, personally. I think that everything has to be like Hellenic. You know, what's with the Greek roots per se? I don't know, but whatever.
Red hats. No one's allowed to wear red hats for another few decades.
That's well then. Okay, and then you've got a archbishop, or is it the cardinal? I forget who does it, but there's a guy. Look at this guy right here. He's getting away with it. Look at that.
Well,
basically.
Is that just like white shoes after Labor Day, though? Is that like?
It depends. Well,
where's Serial Mom at?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, that was actually who was that? Patty Hearst. That was the Patty Hearst scene, right? So Patty Hearst actually like it was the one who was like saying, you know, that fashion has changed, and then Kathleen Turner's like, no, it hasn't, and then she kills her. But, you know, it's like, but I feel like there's some like weird symbolism going there for it. Why did it have to be Patty Hearst? I mean, I know she's an actress in the first place, but it's just like I don't know. Yeah, it's weird.
What's it called? Symbionese army? I forgot what it's called.
Symbionese?
No, Patty Hearst, right? You were talking about Patty Hearst.
Yeah, who sided with her kidnappers. So like Patty Hearst syndrome or whatever you want to call it. Like I said that a lot during the COVID hysteria. I was like, you guys have gone full on Patty Hearst.
But what's the terrorist group that she joined?
Symbionese.
Symbionese. Symbiotic.
Small American far left militant organization active in 73 and 75. I just went to Hearst Castle the other week.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
which was kind of fun. And
how much does it cost to do the tour now?
Oh my God.
What's
no,
$100?
it's like $20 to do one tour, but you got to pick to do like three. There's like 3 or 4 different tours. So I just did 2 of them. Which
Can you get a room? Can you get a room in there?
So apparently, like during the COVID, they had like an Airbnb thing where you can like go walk around and see the thing, and there's going to be people that are there, so you can't like use it too much. But they did something to some extent, but basically no. And the other thing I kind of recognize, I've been there a few times over my life, and I've always thought it was pretty cool. But as I get older, I recognize, you know, he didn't spend that much time there, and like Hearst Castle was really like a ranch. You know, he spent more time there when he was young, and then he built the thing and he turned it kind of into a museum for his stuff, but he really lived in Beverly Hills, you know, most of the time.
So Orson Welles actually lived there longer than Mr. Hearst.
Something to that effect. But it's still like cool. It's an amazing collection of art, and he's got, you know, like was it Bastet or Baskek? What's it? What do you call her? You know, the cat goddess. There it is. I just missed it. Right there. Sekhmet.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and this is like from Sumer or Egypt or something. And it's like as old as it could possibly be, you know, that he's brought back. So it's interesting. They just have it outside, just sitting there, you know, like whatever. But yeah, so his daughter joining the, you know, Symbionese Liberation Army in the 70s, I think is kind of a weird, interesting thing, because the fact that she was so ready to jump in with it, to me, doesn't sound like just the way they say Stockholm syndrome. Oh, you know, you've just been with the wrong people and you got gaslighting.
Well, I don't know. You just say the wrong people is beside the point. Is the point? I mean, how did it happen? Like, was she technically kidnapped? I mean, she wasn't a kid, but I mean, what's the deal? Because people have said that about like Kubrick's daughter, right? That from Scientology, they're like, she was kidnapped by Scientology and like forced to cut off all ties to friends and family and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's different though. Go ahead.
Who?
Eddie, I think you're saying.
Or if you look at a symbol, isn't it? You know, her abduction kind of reminds me of the Getty abduction too. Remember Getty? Was it John Getty? You know, the Getty Harris here. He was abducted, and then they were saying, "Hey, give me like $30 million, something like that." And then the grandpa, you know, Paul Getty, just like, no, you know, he's the richest the richest man on the planet with an oil fortune. And he said, "No, I'm not gonna pay for that." So they started chopping off his ears and his fingers. But it's just crazy. What is that movie called? All the Money in the World. What is it called? But yeah, it feels like the same kind of abduction.
This one though, it wasn't that she just walked off with them. It was that they abducted her supposedly. Now I could be wrong, because the way I look at this article, you know, now I think about it, I'm like, I don't know that that's true, because she could have lied about that and just said to begin with that she was kidnapped, hoping that they would return the money for her or something like that. Or at some point she started
interrogating her.
Yeah, but I think the story, it goes that it was an opportunistic kidnapping, saying that they wanted $70 for food for every needy Californian. An operation.
Did we really go from Hearst Castle because I brought up Patty Hearst?
Yeah.
Did that happen like that? Okay, I'm just making sure the leapfrog went like that.
Because I brought up Serial Mom. Yeah.
Right.
That's how this still works, man. Don't you follow?
Totally.
There was some beef too between Hearst and the Lindbergh family. I was trying to look it up, but I can't remember exactly where it stemmed from. But man, that would have been an interesting sort of fly on the wall conversation to hear these two families going at it with each other.
Yeah, I mean, like, didn't they both had kidnapping situations also?
Maybe. I think that there's a lot of good evidence that Lindbergh might have killed his own kid because he was a very strong eugenicist, and his kid was developmentally challenged. So he might have.
He looks like somebody who would have killed his own kid.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're not supposed to say that, but like just. Oh, this is crazy. So
what do you think about the fish people? I like it. I think that more Catholic fish people more better times. What do you know? This is supposed to be good for you. If you have a burn, then you just put some fish skins on it, right?
Yeah, actually, you know, Jasmine, Andreas, she knew she was playing with fire,
Oh, wow.
like jug fire spinning or whatever,
she's a fire
and
giant
somebody
chick?
put gasoline instead of the stuff that you're supposed to use. It's more safety,
God.
whatever. And her face caught on fire, and the
Jesus.
doctors told her she was gonna like look like somewhat how she looked for the rest of her life. And she ignored their prescription. She just was like, fuck that. She did a bunch of things, but the one that I remember is like Vitamineral Green. She just like put Vitamineral Green all over her face every day and drank it at the same time, just went to town with Vitamineral Green. And the doctors like couldn't, they were like, you know, you can barely tell. You can just see the faintest scars from it, you know, but it's like, so yeah, it might be the same principle, you know.
Is that supposed to be like an omega-3 fatty acid?
It's ground up food. It's so rich in nutrients, you know. And you can, if you drink Vitamineral Green regularly, you'll really feel it. Like it's kind of a drug, you know. But it's just food, you know. But it's condensed. It's condensed down, like just, you know, intense nutrients.
I mean, mushrooms are food, right?
Right.
You know, if you look at omega fatty acid, you know, from fish oil, you know, fish is actually good for your brain development. You know, it's actually helps your memory. It supplements your memory power.
Yeah.
What about shark fin? Is that actually legit, or is that like or shark cartilage? I remember that being sort of like a contentious
the shark fin soup.
Well, not shark fin soup, but like shark cartilage is supposed to be like really good for you.
So used to treat cancer, supposedly, right?
Well, that's what they say about merfolk.
Not likely to be, but whatever.
The mermaid merfolk, they're supposed to be the secret bringer of knowledge to mankind. You know, they brought technology from under the water. But
are you doing the Dogen call? They want their hat back to the Pope.
Did you guys?
Yeah, Dogen. Yeah.
Minneapolis, they have 3 a.m. prayer horns now. So Minneapolis, is dawn Muslim prayer call, but dawn is like 3 a.m. So they've got, I think it's supposed to be 3 and 9 at night, 3 a.m. and 9 at night. They can just do loud blasts of the Muslim prayer. What do you think?
I think that's
I gotta
imagine.
It, yeah.
Can you imagine like doing a podcast like this, and then besides hearing my siren in the background, you hear this like for like an hour, and the podcast over. You know, just
But I mean, at 3 a.m., you know, so that's the other thing. But I guess if it's every few hours, it'd be ruined for a lot of the day.
I want this to turn into one of those like 80s movies where like the rowdy college kids moving next door, and then like the neighbors like upping each other and getting like quarter stacks, and it gets louder and louder. So you just got churches like banging bells in the middle of the night trying to like compete.
And toilet paper. Yeah, I hope that it works out as zany as that. The thing is, I don't think it's as bad as people think on one hand, because people praying isn't usually like your biggest problem. You know what I mean? So like just people praying, but it's so loud at 3 a.m. to blast like horns at people that I feel like that's going to be the contentious thing. But then again, you know, what was the neighborhood like before that had the mosque? Like, so maybe it's benefited by.
You know what? If you go to Burning Man and you set up your tent in the wrong spot, you might end up with the final countdown playing 24 hours a day, every day of the week, with a full security, like people like guarding the sound system so that nobody destroys it, you know, so it can just keep going. And like, you know, shit happens, man. You know, you gotta deal with it.
Yeah, it's just like on one hand it's cool, but then on the other hand, the churches for a long time they have bells, and they don't let the churches ring their bells at the weird hours, right? So it's like
we don't want a double standard. That's true.
So that's the thing. It's like, so shouldn't we just get rid of noise code or make some we don't want a double standard. We have to figure out some way that everyone can be super loud all the time, basically.
Well, have you seen what is it, the Tim Robbins movie where he's cutting people's car alarms? He's going around renegade style. It's supposedly based on a true story somewhat, or inspired by a true story, but he's like in court, he gets car alarms to go outside like crazy, like during the proceeding, because he wanted to make the argument that one could feel physically assaulted by sound. So he got like the judge or whatever, somebody or the prosecution or whatever, to admit that they felt attacked by the sound, because you're like, it's just sound, like it's like sticks and stones, but it's like certain octave of intensity, and you're like, so he's like, if you feel assaulted, you fucking get rid of the thing that like if it's so he was going to people's cars and clipping it, just
It's like an unofficial sequel to Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin wasn't in it though. Yeah,
I think that's interesting. That's what it comes down to, the issue of being assaulted by someone else's pursuit of happiness, right? Like
that's the thing. It's a can of worms when you go there, because then you have to, as soon as you acknowledge it for one, then you got to relate that we can't have double standards now. So it's like it opens it up.
The thing about Islam is like once it sets through, there's no canceling it. You get killed for canceling anything.
Right. Well, the problem with laws, man, is that if you're adding so many more laws all the time, this is in Nietzsche's The Birth of Tragedy. If you just add laws all the time, that's an Apollonian structural movement, that we need a certain amount of structure. But if you don't give any back that you take away ever, then that eventually that's just going to strangle the entire, that can bring down an empire, just too many laws. So you gotta like be like, okay, well, what if you got the idea.
Well, I mean, you first we got to look at other places like London and Paris. Those cities. I mean, everybody who's been traveling is like, this is not London and Paris anymore. This is like a Mecca.
Yeah, I mean, like remember this is Minneapolis.
Blocking up the traffic.
These are the towns that are in Minneapolis. Like people are saying, I remember in the wintertime, people were having their car broken into every night, even though there's like nothing on the seat, and it's just like, dude, it's like snowing outside. And like this person's paying like $300, $400 a month to stay alive, like, don't you understand how hard it is like already? And like the crack doesn't care. So I don't know. I feel like they're also kind of trying to destroy ghettos so they can gentrify them maybe someday.
Right. So Eddie, you're talking about London. About all those skyscrapers in London that are basically apartment buildings that are not being used. There's no electricity being used in whole skyscrapers all throughout London. They're investors, mostly Chinese investors, who buy these huge apartment buildings and then they're just empty because they're an investment. So what's going to happen to the housing market in places like London for people when these places open up? And it's
interesting.
And
buying
also
property in like Eastern Europe, it's millions of dollars to buy property because the same thing has happened. They figured out how to like hold on to. They don't want to lose control of the cities, so they have control of the cities.
Like all these CEOs, everybody's like, get back to your office to work, and nobody wants to go back to office after COVID. I'm cozy. I'm wearing my pajamas on Zoom,
dude. Just between two. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying that the real estate is completely destroyed by work from home. They try to drive people to work. Nobody's gonna do it. Like look at what is it? Twitter and one of the companies, the Apple's got that huge UFO building. It's completely empty.
Yeah, but that things can fly. Probably we just have to wait for it.
Better show me if it works. I'll take it.
Right. But it's intensity in 10 cities. So like, in between I was in London in 2018 and 2019, and in just that year, the amount of how much London had changed was unbelievable. So I can only imagine now, after everything that's been happening, what it's actually like there. But you'd see so often, I can't help but being nostalgic for like times that I wasn't even alive. Like you look at these old buildings just getting fucking bulldozed. They're just taking out these like giant structures of buildings. You're like, those are so old, and they're just like to make way for all these new buildings. And they just and you're like, well, that's just the movement of what we do. But it's painful to see, man. I gotta say.
Yeah.
What about? But we'll be okay, right? Because we can move to Mars. That's the thing. Mars, it looks good. There's dragons. What is this? There's curiosity over rocks on Mars. Dragon bones.
We're gonna have an ethno state on Mars if we go in the direction that we've been going. I think
a reptilian ethno state on Mars. T-shirt. Is this just tire tracks? Because like this is just a picture of a flat Earth. This is a desert. Or are we telling? What do you think this is? Sahara?
This is an older photo. They just had another enhanced one out there.
Didn't NASA get in trouble, like literally for basically you'd have these different locations, like there's like things in maybe Utah or something where it's like you can get the photo of the spot and then they just reddened it. Didn't that actually happen with NASA, where they
totally
like
do,
release
because
photos of Mars and then we can actually see exactly where they are on planet Earth?
I'm pretty sure a lot of people have done that. I mean, there's been like evidence that they do. They say we're going out to test what it would be like. This is very much like the area. So they all even tell you these are the places that they go to do their experiments.
Oops, I must have shuffled the picturs together. My bad.
Right, like I'm not talking like
the Belgian tested the asteroid, right?
And now AI, look at Midjourney, all these software. Everybody, it's becoming a trend. They're all making their own fake lunar landing photos. You see, it's fake. Oh, I know it's fake. It came out AI, but just like you don't.
NASA finally opened up 50-year-old Apollo moon rock sample. Oh wait, no, that's not the one. The one where they said like they got the sample from Mars and it turned out that it wasn't even.
Yeah, the one that Neil Armstrong gave to that ambassador. What's his name? Yeah. Oh, was it the Dutch ambassador?
Apollo moon rocks lost in space. So now they've got ones that they say are because they lost the ones that they proved weren't them, and now they found them again, and the ones that they found are definitely from the moon. Okay.
I got an open question related to that Kubrick documentary. What was it called? Propaganda or something about the Kubrick?
Yeah, what was
2001 Space Odyssey. But whoever was narrating that brings up a great point, and they mentioned that there was all these promises when 2001 came out, basically saying that there were going to be commercial flights to the moon, and one of the biggest ones. What was it?
It was like Tucker. Because then you know the story of Tucker, the guy who gave all these promises for what his car was going to be, and his car was really fucking good when it came out. But because of those promises, he got like sued or something. It was like
the Homermobile, yeah.
right. Yeah, but here it is.
Collective learning, right? It's a good video actually talking about kind of some of the backstory.
Right, but we're saying opening shot in this video, with the Time magazines, and it's a shelf of magazines, but you can see the swastika one in the center. Did they cut it?
And Alex made it in. I don't know, maybe it's a different one. Alex, what's up?
No.
Not much.
Alex will absolutely know this video with Werner.
Oh, hold on, I gotta turn. Jeez, I was listening in the background and I had it on, so everything was doubled and I was losing my mind. Sorry about that. Hey.
Oh, no worries, bro. Hey, so we were looking at the well, go ahead. You were saying Kubrick, 2001. David.
So I want to ask you. I don't remember this being called Behind the Propaganda.
This might be a different.
This extended. Yeah. Oh no, are we looking at a Rob Agger video right now? Yes, we are. It's collative learning. But so he might. He probably talks about it here if it's Rob Agger like narrating and stuff.
Yeah, no, he brings up the magazine, then he mentions that the opening line talks about Werner von Braun. This guy,
right? So from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, in this actual video that he's going over here, the opening shot of the whole thing is a shelf with Time magazine or different magazines. Maybe they're all Time. I can't remember, but there's a swastika one like in the middle, and then the camera pans, and you're looking at Werner von Braun, and so it's just like Project Paperclip to the max. But
look, I'm sorry, I'm a little lost. Which video are we talking about here?
This is advertisement for 2001: A Space
Odyssey. Oh, look behind the future. Yeah. That thing's crazy.
Look. Yeah, so we're looking at that now. But yeah, it should be at the very beginning of this. If you
I have an incredible thing with that I can share.
Don't jump. Just push play. There you go.
Right there.
See, there it is in the corner. I said the middle. It's been a while. But
wow. There's
perfect.
Right.
Dang.
So it's just like bam, it's so quick the way it does that. But then now you're gonna look at this interview from Mr. Project Paperclip himself.
And his first line is about Werner von Braun. And it was I was gonna say that my open question related to this movie was that they mentioned all these promises that were made, and one of the biggest ones was a moon base. And if we do have the technology to get to the moon, why would we not have developed the moon base by now? It seems like a worthwhile sort of endeavor.
Or maybe we have.
I want to can I share? I want to share something about that video you had. If you could pull it up again.
Sure. Yeah.
If we can find the point, there's like the timer. You see the timer on the thing. If you go to 666 seconds.
Of course.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And just kind of watch. Let's see here. Is that right? Or
Yeah,
I got this wrong. Let me check my tweet.
Or is it 666 or something?
Warner Brothers.
Oh, 646. I'm sorry, 646. Plane. Flying plane. Now pause it.
Oh, nice.
2 twin towers.
Yeah.
There's like a lightning strike. This is 2001. A look behind the future. And
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean,
Gotcha.
to me, it's crazy.
Right, but it's also interesting to have the one, if you're going to relate to these as the pillars with this kind of third point in the middle where they meet. You could argue like this is Oz on one side, the strength, the stable structure that keeps the thing up, and then there's Oz, the might or whatever. But it's like which one can exist without the other? It's kind of a trip.
I thought you were gonna bring up that that essay, "False Flag OdySee."
Oh yeah, that guy was great. We didn't always record with him. Were you on that call? I can't remember.
No, I wasn't.
Oh yeah,
I remember that was fun. I mean, that was a great essay. I don't know if it's still up or not, but it takes on new resonance post COVID-19 and all.
Can you give us kind of like a breakdown or a bit about what that was? What was it?
Oh God, I don't even know.
I can.
Yeah, go for it.
So basically, this guy shows how there's very specific shots in 2001 where you can demonstratably, I don't think that's a real word, but prove that the shot is backwards. So he literally like flipped the image, which has to be like basically intentionally done. And in every one of those cases, it relates literally to the plot in a very direct way and can give you an insight into like what the fuck is actually going on. So like when Frank Poole dies and he's flying across, David Bowman goes in a direction to go and get him, but he goes in the wrong direction. And you're like, why did he go in the wrong direction? Well, the only argument you can give is that the screen that he's looking at is actually going the opposite way. And the way that you can tell, I believe, is where the hose is on the astronauts' bodies. So and another example is in this jogging scene there when Frank Poole is jogging, he's been doing these depictions of the people in hypergenic, being the people frozen, and when the camera shows you his drawings, his renderings at first, you can see the direction that how many are on each side and which way he's looking, and that's the correct one that they show you here when he's running. But then when he's showing those drawings to Hal, he actually flips past a couple of the pages, and the ones that he shows Hal are actually backwards. And so it's like it seems to suggest like he doesn't want Hal to see what he's actually seeing. Like he knows what he's looking at, but he doesn't want Hal to know that he knows what he's looking at. So there's a weird thing happening there, and he relates it to the predator at the beginning of the film. So you have like that leopard that attacks one of the apes, and then they're dealing with these kind of predators while they're fighting for survival, and then they figure out to kill whatever those pig creatures are. I don't know what they're called, but anyway, the idea is that Hal is a continuation of that same predator. Here in this video, I'm talking about how it's relatable to the Holy Mountain when at the end they say you're in a movie. So he's basically arguing that what David Bowman's actual trip is like a meta trip where it's like this is he realizes that he's in a film while he's in the movie. Like his discovery is his transcendence is actually from the movie itself, and that speaks to the movie then being kind of this meta archetypal like symbolic thing that you're going to see manifest in the real world beyond it. And so yeah, it's very bold. That guy is pretty brilliant.
Monolith is the framage of the film, so yourself filmed. Yeah.
So this guy actually got his article to Keir Delay, which is he's David Bowman, which it's kind of cool, but like Keir Delay dug it, so it's like he was like, yeah, he doesn't put anything past Kubrick. And I think that's interesting too, just people who work so directly with him for the duration of a big film like that, still being like, I could tell you that really wouldn't surprise me,
Hey, Andrea, I found I kind of like skipping the topic, but in the mailbox I dropped two things. One is linked to the Nightingale, to the Nightingale post regarding the cover of the Economist, and then the other one is and the other one, yeah. But if we can go back to the mailbox, I just dropped this. Yeah, you see that one? You click on that one. I don't know. I posted that. I didn't get too many reactions out of it, but I thought because it was a Google Doodle, and then it had the mother of well, she was like the one of the very early you know, the what do you call it, the delivery
midwife,
the midwife, yeah. So and then I just thought that the picture just really reminds me of Frank Poole getting cut off the umbilical cord, you know, and also the way he's being received. I don't know. I just thought it was very symbolic, you know. But you know, basically the Star Child is well. Now you're talking about the dream state of you know, a Bowman. It's basically, you know, you're still in the womb. You know, you're trying to break free and get out of the dream world while you're inside you know, my mother's stomach. But I don't know. I just thought it was kind of interesting. But anyway.
And then you were saying also this one with the tar stuff.
Yeah, so that link will bring all the So you see the World 2020 of Economist at the very bottom it mentioned Nightingale. So I made several posts over the time, but I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine what is Kubrick trying to bring about. You know, what is he really trying to say about Nightingale?
Got any thoughts on this, Alex?
Wait, about Nightingale?
Yeah, Nightingale, the one who brought Tom Cruise into this world. You know, he's the one who gave him the password. And
isn't she also a DC comic book character?
Is he? Probably Nighthawk or whatever.
Nightingale.
I guess what comes to mind is the trope of the kind of the outsider crashing the party crasher. You know, that's what he ultimately is, and that seems to be that's kind of how I see Kubrick in this mythological sense, as a party crasher, like somebody who somehow, for some reason, just got to where he was, which was
he's an accidental tourist.
Exactly, and that's like the movie, let's say, Being There, where Peter Sellers plays a guy who's like basically retarded or whatever the appropriate word is, but he's like kind of a human parrot, but he somehow stumbles his way through and becomes like a presidential candidate, even though he's an idiot, or Forrest Gump or whatever. So this trope comes up a lot. So
the writer of Being There he got, there was some controversy around him for lying about a book. Was it related to the Holocaust or something?
Jerzy Kaczynski, yeah.
The Devil Tree, was that the one? I forget
what it was called. I still don't know the details, but yeah, he apparently made some stuff up, but which is kind of probably more common than we would imagine. But he got caught. The Painted Bird,
the Painted Bird, was that the one that was the point of controversy here? Is that what we're saying?
I think so.
Or was it something else that he did? So. I forget. Yeah. But anyway, he made claims, and then those claims turned out to be false. But I think the same thing kind of happened with that Carlos Castaneda. You know,
similar thing. Well, what's the line between, you know, what's fiction and nonfiction? I don't know exactly what he was claiming.
It mentions Eli Wiesel there too, and I think Eli Wiesel's Night came under some similar criticism too.
Right. I mean, it's common, you know. It's like how often does this really happen? Probably more than we would like to.
Although in that particular case with Night, I think it was more of him putting his name on it happening to him, when it was really like an amalgamation of like a number of different experiences that he saw / heard about / were kind of passed around.
Indeed.
How interesting is that though? Like, so the party crasher thing, like I'm tripping out on that, because I've always thought of Kubrick as somebody who kind of like, it could be a conspirator who conspires against his co-conspirators.
I think that him being a chess master probably played into this, where he knew how to kind of like hold his hand and think ahead, and knew how to act as the like that social chameleon. So if you're at the Rothschild Manor, you act this way, and you know, you can have your own thoughts. And I think maybe a lot of people didn't realize that from him.
Polanski was a party crasher too, but like his level of party crashing was like it wasn't even sustainable. So it's like you're gonna rock the boat to the point that you're just like
And Kubrick and Polanski were pretty good friends, from what I've read and heard.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
How did Polanski try to rock the boat?
Well, I mean, just his very existence as a Warsaw Holocaust survivor directing movies, and to have it be the content. Like, I mean, come on, man. He had Mia Farrow, who was married to Frank Sinatra, giving birth to the devil's baby. Frank Sinatra filed for divorce the day that they filmed that scene. So like that's no accident, like, because the connection to the Catholic Church and the mob and fucking everything, and it's just like that. Yeah, that's definitely rocking the boat, I would say.
Jerry Chase, thank you for the $9.99. Thank you all for bringing truths. Need to share some info with you about a church in Missouri with a Schumann resident as a worship circle outside. Wanted to let Dutch know. How can I send the info? Carrie, that's awesome. You should definitely go to Tartary Nova and click on the Discord link, and then in the Discord link, share the data, and we'd love to talk more. Let's get down on this Missouri church with the Antiquitech. There we go.
To one of my favorite sort of syncs with regard to that whole party crasher trope is this case of this guy, which I found when I went looking, because the date in The Shining at the end is July 4th, 1921. So I just went looking for like historical events around that time and looking at July 1921. And I found out that on July 26, 1921, which is Kubrick's birthday, before he was born, mind you, a party crasher, a guy named Stanley Clifford Wyman, basically conned his way to meet with the president, Warren G. Harding.
Nice.
And so it was like the peak of his con artist lifestyle.
Which one is him? Which one's Borat? I'm confused. Is it the guy with the mustache?
On the far left, I think.
Oh, here on the far side.
I think him. I forget. I don't know exactly what he looked like, but yeah, Stanley Clifford Wyman. And so yeah, the con man, and that's in July 26, 1921, which blew my mind at the time. But then there's like. But it also ties to the whole Color Me Kubrick thing, where John Malkovich plays the con man whose name is Conway, who impersonates Stanley Kubrick.
And then being John Malkovich is released 237 days after the death of Stanley Kubrick, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really weird movie that doesn't need to exist for any other reason than to stroke synchronicity artists. I mean, it's true.
And also,
it was directed by the guy. Real quick, it was directed by the guy in Eyes Wide Shut. He's one of the actors in Eyes Wide Shut.
Which actor is he?
He's like when Tom Cruise is at the party and he gets like caught, and there's a big tall guy comes up to him and he's like, "Your taxi is waiting, sir."
Oh, that guy. Okay,
that's the guy.
I was hoping you're going to say one of the two guys that walks away with the girl at the daughter Helena at the end, but no. So John Malkovich was also in Heart of Darkness, which was the more direct telling of the book from which Apocalypse Now came, Joseph Conrad.
Yeah.
So there's something really interesting there for me, because you have obviously the King Kill motif as expressed like that. I don't know, was there even another movie that had the Doors in it before Apocalypse Now when they had the end? Like they had to have the end in there because of the ritual, the specifics around the Golden Bough thing that's taking place in that movie. Like the Golden Bough is sitting there with from ritual to romance, in what's his name, the Godfather. I'm gonna give you an offer you can't refuse. What's the fucking guy?
Marlon Brando.
Thank you, Jesus Christ. But yeah, so anyway, it's in his space. So it's like Marlon Brando is reading that, and then this guy comes to basically sacrifice him, and then he could have all those people are at his service, but they just let him go because he's like, they're bowing to him because now he's killed the king, so now he's become the king. And so that's embedded in that movie in a very particular, or in that story in a very particular way from Joseph Conrad in the first place.
Right.
But they
like
really
you don't
take
change
it to another
the place,
level.
you become the place, that you become the thing that runs it. You don't change the thing that runs it. It changes you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You submit to it and you become it.
Yeah. Just working.
I I can see that in Repo Man too.
Right. I mean, you guys know this is so like fundamental is that Kubrick sent the head of Warner Brothers in the 1970s an unabridged set of The Golden Bough, bugged him every couple of weeks for a year about reading it. At a certain point, the tired executive tells Kubrick, "Look, I don't have time for mythology," to which Kubrick responds with, quote, "This isn't mythology, this is your life." And that's from Michael Herr in a Vanity Fair article. But yeah, but that's very significant because you can see that symbolism embedded in his works. But this is a tapestry that runs through so much media beyond himself. I mean, Kubrick was looking all over the place, you know.
Right.
Well, I love how he used to mess with those suits. I wish I could remember the exact source, but there was one of my favorite Kubrick stories was how he would be working on some kind of a film, and then like all of the suits wanted to get updates and just kind of like have some kind of input. So he would have them all fly out to London and meet like, you know, in like some high rise or something, and then stand them all up. So he would have them fly in from all over the world and then just not even make it to the meeting just to mess with them.
So the question is, why this guy? Why did this guy have such a unique power, for lack of a better word? Just not even on any supernatural level, but like on this level of like organizing humans around himself to do. Basically, he used people as puppets to do whatever he wanted.
Right. Well, this photo's cropped, so there's like all of these people who he's walking with. You can find a photo online maybe of all of them with their names attached to them. But yeah, this is total what about Livingston situation here, because it's like basically.
Hello, Mr. Kubrick. How are you?
Yeah, so the original credits supposedly. Oh, here we go. Maybe it's not cropped. Maybe I was just thinking of this photo. This is the one. Yeah, so the original credits for 2001 supposedly, if you get an original reel, actually are like twice as long, and they include a lot of like government, not just NASA, but like it extends somewhat. So it's just like it's people who were included in those credits originally was you know, maybe they didn't all want their names there or something. I don't know what the fuck.
All I know is like among the suits, you want to be the guy in the Argyle. Like, look at that right now. He belongs on a boat.
Right.
Like they all flew there.
Tennis court.
Hey, Alex, what do you think about?
Oh, Eddie.
What? Oh,
Eddie's asking some serious stuff.
I missed that.
Yeah,
you broke up can you say it again?
Oh, yeah, you know the director of 2010.
Yes,
the year we made contact.
Peter
Hyam.
Mm-hmm.
The Hyams got the same. They share the same birthdays, 50 years apart.
That's true.
Any thought on that? I mean,
yeah.
And Time Cop, just because you know.
Oh, he's done so many movies.
So many movies. I like that one.
Yeah, I mean,
great movie.
Like, well, you know that guy Leon Vitali? Do you remember him?
Yeah,
Kubrick's.
He just died. He just
he died last year. He was Kubrick's like assistant, just personal assistant guy, mule. But he was born on July 26th too.
Yeah. Exactly.
20 years. And so I've always kind of thought like, and it sort of goes.
He's Red Cloak, right?
Yes.
Yep, he's the Red Cloak.
He's the Red Cloak. Okay. And in Barry Lyndon, of course. But what was I saying?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I wonder about the birthdays.
Oh yeah. So like I think about that whole arrangement and thinking like, well, why did he pick Leon? Is it just because they had the same birthday?
So so here's just really quickly because of how much I've been thinking about this. I had a friend one time. I went to this party and we were sitting on a couch and he's like, "You don't know what's going on, do you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You know what your birthday is?" And I'm like, February 18th. It's like, "You know what her birthday is?" It's like, "No, it's February 18th." You know what his? Yeah, but hold on a second. 88. 89, February 18th, 90, 87. I'm 8 and he's 86 or something like that. And the other guy's 82. It's like, there's a room of people here. Like there's like about 400 people in this area right now, about 100 people here. And then about 11 or 12 of them that all have the exact same birthday. Do you have any idea how weird that is? I was like, I don't know. We have to know more about the situation. And so I started talking about like how it could happen. Like, could it be that for instance, computer systems will get your date for what school you're going to go to, and that matters when you get into class. If you missed the deadline in February or something like that. Simultaneously, you think about people who were dating in the 60s, and you have these like online dating things. They're like, fill out this computer forum on your magazine. Cosmopolitan will run it through a computer, and then it will send it back to you with this other person's match. And you've got people that are matching up based on their last names being similar. similar, or their birthdays being similar, or being oppositional, depending on if it was trying to find complements or trying to find identicals. And that, I mean, so this is all while Kubrick is thinking about what he's going to do with his movie and how. You know, and so 2001, you got this computer system that's completely pervasive and running the world. And he's already seeing that, how much it's already deciding who's sitting next to you in your classroom, right?
Suggested, yeah.
Or
you
on
know, I actually just a short personal experience. I went to Mexico because I was invited to Mexico by a friend, a Colombian Canadian girl, and then because you know, things were not going well with me in 2006, so I decided to give it a try and go to Mexico, and then I landed a job opportunity. So I thought about it, sat on it. Screw this! I don't speak Spanish. I don't want to go to Mexico. So and then the big boss of Senor Frog, the Jewish boss of Cooper Anderson, CEO David, what's his last name? But he's from Mexico City. So he called me. What? You know, you're not gonna take this job, and somebody's gonna take it. So I went there. All right, and then my friend, the girl, she's, yeah, you can be my roommate. And when I became her roommate, that's when I realized she has my dad's birthday, and her best friend, this other girl, the Latina, she has my mom's birthday, and well, these are just a few of the things, but everything started landing like, wait a second, because this all happened after my ayahuasca. Just a month before that, I was in Brazil doing ayahuasca, and I had a crazy MIB. I think I told a story on there.
Your boss is like setting this all up. It's like, dude, we got you the ayahuasca retreat. What's going on? We need you in Mexico now. Yeah,
the brain was loud. We read your mind. You know,
to answer your original question about Peter Hyams, I wanted to finish the thought, which was that it recalls to me James Joyce, who is sort of famously loved Synchronicity, and when he thought he was going to die before he finished Finnegan's Wake, he didn't pick some other great writer. He just found some guy that was born in the same place at the same time as him in Ireland. Named Stephen, which is the character in his thing. So like all this pile up of synchronicities are what prompted him to choose this guy. So I look at Kubrick and I wonder, like, okay, Peter Hyams is going to do the 2010. It's like, oh, he has Kubrick's blessing. It's like, oh, well, he has the same birthday as me. So it's like, so on some level, that's what's going on.
Jim Carrey and Andy Kaufman, right?
That's a big one. That's 20 years apart. Like, 20 years apart.
Who else could have done that? Like, and that like behind the scenes documentary thing.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
legit,
that whole
dude.
possession. It is.
Totally.
There's a whole trip,
dude. I'm sorry. I just want to
instead, but yeah,
right. And so that's
doppelganger universe. Doppelganger. That's
one of the great little parent thesis configurations that Sean found is that from in between JFK made two speeches about the moon, about going to the moon. Like I forget how they go, but
I think we should go to the moon.
Yeah, something like we choose to go to the moon, etc. Anyway, between those two is 474 or 237 days times 2. But the midpoint is the birth of Jim Carrey.
Oh shit.
Who is Man on the Moon.
Right.
And the same birthday as Andy Kaufman. And Andy Kaufman's parents were named Stan and Jan.
Right.
Which is like, dude, weird as shit too. And
totally. So that's the thing, is that I'm sorry to do this, but like Eminem, Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, he has his Tony Clifton character. So like it's weird. There's all these places where Tony, it seems like he's playing on the same fucking thing. Yeah, and Tony, like, who's Tony? Like Red Rom, like, it's weird, man.
Yeah. Actually, there's another great one that I just found related to the Eminem thing. So yeah, as you mentioned, it's Eminem's born 237 weeks after 2001: A Space Odyssey releases. MM, is a kind of Master Mason, whatever, all kinds of stuff there. But then I just kind of realized recently, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the guy Miles Mathis, who writes essays about fake history. He's kind of a controversial figure. I kind of feel weird saying his name because it might trigger some weird algorithm or whatever. But anyway, in one of his papers, he listed his birthday, which is September 18th, 1963. And that's 237 weeks before 2001 came out. And his name is Miles Mathis, Eminem and Eminem. So that just was weird to me too.
Do you remember when Eminem played with Marilyn Manson at like some award show, and like
Eminem.
Marilyn Manson was like totally down to be like buddy with him, but you could see that like Eminem was still looking at him like Lady Gaga in her fucking Scarlet Lady outfit. You know, it was so
I mean, it
weird.
seemed like he was weirder about Brian Warner than he ever was about Elton John. Like the Elton John performance, it felt like they were totally like, yeah, I love Elton John. I don't know if Elton John loved him. Elton John was like trying to be, he's like, I love life. I love everybody.
But Elton John in this position was in the same position that Eminem was with Marilyn Manson before. Like that's totally, you know what I mean? Like it's just like who's comfortable here, you know? Who's not just comfortable, but like the dynamic is just I don't know. It's weird.
Maybe
he had chemistry with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Like when Elton John played with Lady Gaga, you could see on the Muppet Show they were really like feeling it. You know,
randomly I just listened to Dido the other day, which is like I don't know if this is a reasonable sync, but I listened to that song, the original one that it's based on, and like David Boreanaz is in the music video, the dude from Angel, which is like I don't know, is it anybody got a Buffy sync? Like help me out here, but otherwise, does Buffy sync to Kubrick? That'd be so great.
Yes.
What were you just saying before that? I'm sorry, that was really there's an interesting thread there. What were you just talking about?
Me?
Yeah.
I forget.
How did you open that? How did you open that?
Dido.
Yeah, Dido. Yeah. So you know the John Travolta thing, the Fanatic, and then you know that film where he plays the autistic man. We talked about this. You guys know what I'm talking about? So like so John Travolta
the Limp
played
Bizkit
it
movie, right?
Phenomenon.
Fred Durst.
So that's the Limp Bizkit guy fucking directed it, right? But the guy is Stan, the main character who John Travolta is a fanatic about in this film Fanatic. It's the guy from the Stan video. It was with the Dido song from Eminem, and so he's in this movie. He's playing Eminem's character, while John Travolta is basically playing Stan. So like, and that's almost become like a certain like nomenclature to say like somebody's a Stan now. Like you'll even find it in just
it is literally it's in the dictionary now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so what's crazy though is the way that it gets used is really like not connected to like the way that the song actually goes, where he like ties up his girlfriend in the trunk and like gets all like yeah he's crazy, but it's like anyone could just be a crazy fan now, and you're like are they a Stan? That's kind of like an overstatement generally. But yeah, it's just it's cool that like I didn't realize that. Like I watched
Devin Sawa, Devin Sawa, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, I hadn't put that together, and I was like, oh, that's fucking really clever. It's a good movie, by the way, Fanatic.
I'll have to check it out. I do got that after they did Dido. Dido. She did the song originally. It was for Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow, who's now selling her own thelemic sex magic candle from her own vaginal scent.
Well, this is a magical movie. The number of that train in that scene is actually really significant too. There's like there's numerology throughout Sliding Doors like crazy. It's like you think it's like just like a chick flick, whatever.
No, yeah,
it's got a whole thing going on. Yeah,
it's a trick flick.
Anybody feel weird about her latest court case? You know how she slammed into the doctor on the ski trip.
Who does is Pink Trip, and hopefully he's free to talk about it more tomorrow because he did a thing talking about this Gwyneth Paltrow court case. I mean, it is kind of weird, right? Like, so this dude doesn't impress me. I watched the trial, and the dude seemed just about as horrible as Gwyneth Paltrow, and his lawyer. Like, I don't know who I hate more, Gwyneth Paltrow or this lawyer lady that he's got. So, I mean, it's kind of like
the whole thing was a setup. It just you just know it. This case is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, but I thought like the idea that Gwyneth Paltrow like ran through a guy was plausible, and now I'm like, maybe this guy's just trying to make some money because whatever.
Well, yeah, it's sensationalism too, maybe
Yeah, but I wanted to believe. Don't get me wrong. I was like, sex magic candle lady. She's got a broomstick and she's just like going through the town, but I don't have any evidence of that.
Okay.
I don't know.
I feel like something else was going on in the world and it distracted the world from.
Well, I didn't see this. So she's got like all-star court people. Like she's gonna have like Alec Baldwin is gonna. No, never mind. I thought that was gonna be the thing. They were saying like she's gonna be. Is it really? No, they're just having a bunch of court trials because Leo DiCaprio had a federal laundering case. You saw that one, right? That one was important. This one matters, and no one cares about anything that matters. But it was the Fugees were were using campaign money. They were taking money through DiCaprio. They were getting Chinese donors from the PRC, giving millions of dollars to the DNC through these actors who just had these. They were anonymous donors were giving them the money through the bank account.
Didn't this happen around the same time that the Malaysian Flight 370 crashed? I mean, when it disappeared? Hijacked.
Garcia.
So you want to talk about the free what's it called, the semiconductor company? Was
Freescale Semiconductor? Did that all happen then at the same time?
So, but it's
those people are real. Yeah, those people are real.
Yeah, and that there was lots of witnesses in like the Maldives, right, like above the island chain of Diego Garcia, seeing the plane flying very low over top, like in a couple hours before it would have been at Diego Garcia. So
yeah, well, actually,
very interesting. And some of the cell phones of the passengers apparently pinged from the Diego Garcia towers. That was another big thing that got covered up.
And because the U.S. is almost going to war with China. I mean, what I'm talking about, we are about 80% there, and China is once. I thought China is taking. They try to take control of the Diego Garcia, right? I mean, I don't know if they can actually
British
do that.
owned, I think, and that it's a huge U.S. military base now. So
in Indian Ocean,
that would be war if they tried to take on Diego Garcia.
Well, it's interesting also the 2013 Malaysian general election, right? Because the amount of sway that they had to take over Malaysia, and in a time when Malaysia was like destined to become kind of like a Sharia haven, and they turned it into a major tech hub in the last 10 years. Now you go to Malaysia and the housing market, it's like $1 to $3 million for houses, and the Malaysian banks are starting to implode. So they've built this giant bubble so they can rescue Malaysia and turn it into whatever reset economy. Malaysia is the next step for like a reset economy.
Yeah.
So what's the thing with microchips in Taiwan? So like Taiwan is like the leading microchip manufacturer in the world, apparently.
Yeah, I thought you were like, what? They're putting Taiwanese microchips.
I just made a post actually. I just made a post. If you can look it up.
Is it on the? Oh, by the way, happy birthday to Emma Watson. Happy Saturnalia.
She actually talked about her Saturn return. She said she was saved by Saturn. That's what she said, quote unquote.
Wow.
But,
really?
She's like, I would never live past 27.
Even Alex is like, damn. All right.
Okay.
Sorry, so you just posted
Watson,
Did you post it in Facebook or?
Wait, hold on. It's what were we talking about?
God, I got excited there. It was
question of stumping stoner.
It was about Malaysia and the Taiwanese microchips.
Yeah, I want to just I'm like
TSMC. Okay, wait,
that is it. Thank you.
It's coming up. It's coming up. Keep going.
Adam Eve's story. We should get into that too. Remind me.
So TSMC, I've actually personally visited it because I was working for a company called Digimax. It's a digitally fixed company, and what happened? You're gonna have a hard time finding it. Wait, hold on.
Should I type in
TSMC
at synchronous hashtag TSMC? Come on, internet, don't film anything. No, it didn't work.
Yeah, and so no hashtag, just TSMC. Yeah,
that work?
Oh no, keep scrolling. It should be there. That's the only one.
Well,
there's all these ones.
That is it, though. I mean, you're looking
no, hold on. Okay, but TSMC, they just opened up a new campus in Arizona, in Phoenix. So that building, it's the biggest semiconductor manufacturer in the world. And I actually walked into the place because we were doing a presentation, a digital animation presentation for them. This was in 2012 or 2013. But I went there and they didn't show us anything. They didn't show us their supercomputers systems. They showed us the room of hydroponics. It's like this robotic, complete automated hydroponic systems, food growing, food production systems. So I'm like, why are we showing they're showing us this? I'm like, why do I want to see this? And then that's when they were giving us the hint that if in case of war, Taiwan will have to go underground because of all the missiles. They're like like 4,000 missiles pointing at Taiwan from China.
Well, yeah,
But-
there's incentive with
not see
Taiwan
it.
with that microchip thing, and I'm surprised that I hear so much about Taiwan, and that should be the center of the conversation, I would think, or is it just the elephant in the room that we're
well, because Taiwan, the TSMC, they're making microchips for U.S. military. The missile guidance systems.
Not just that, for like
Yeah.
it's like
That's
80% something percent of
big thing.
microchips in the world. Like
They
it's
make
almost
the military, the U.S. military microchip, so that like if China were to take back Taiwan, the U.S. would be screwed with all its high-tech weapons. They would no longer be able to manufacture.
Yeah, that's why they opened up the new campus. It's almost done in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
But they're having trouble hiring Americans because not too many bright kids these days. but they're gonna have to get a lot of like these kids from MIT, from Caltech, and Cal
Steve
Poly.
Jobs said why before he died. You know that, like, just shortly, like months before he died or something, they asked him like straight up. They were like, "Why not have more, workable jobs in the U.S. for the manufacturing of the microchips and all this stuff?" He was like, "They're like, why China and elsewhere?" And he's just he said he was like, it's so obvious anyway, but it's nice to hear it from the horse's mouth. It's just like Americans would never put up with in order to get things at the rate that we've been doing it, they would never put up with what would be required of them to do that type of labor. In the United, Americans just would never put up with it. It's just as simple as that. He's like, we wouldn't have it.
When they asked Tim Cook what the difference between America and China was, and Tim Cook said, like, besides the fact that China's bigger and newer and better, he said, in China, if I were to get a room full of experts and I got a room full of experts in America, the difference is that the room would have to be the size of a football field, and it would be a half empty room in America. Like, you could get the experts of any industry is going to be like 27 people in the United States, or maybe under 100 for sure, but there's going to be 1,000 experts compared to that in China that'll do it. And so they're looking at it also like, why would we ever invest in that future?
Well, here's the problem. Okay, talking about Steve Jobs and Tim Cook, these guys are making billions off of cheap Chinese labor for years and years, making iPhones, right? So these technologies are no longer affordable to be domestic industries, because nobody wants to. Look, the richest man in Taiwan is Terry Guo. Terry Guo, he's the richest man because of Tim Cook giving him all the contracts to make iPhones at Foxconn.
And it's not just that Americans wouldn't put up with it, but there's also all sorts of regulations that would prevent companies from treating American workers the same way that they do on these other countries.
Exactly. I'd say America wouldn't put up with it in any way. Like, it's just not compatible with the way that we are here.
Yeah, but Mexico.
I'm just gonna say this so you guys will understand the magnitude of the monetary problem. I was in Taiwan as a supervisor when I went to TSMC. I was a supervising animator, a storyboard person. I was getting $2,000 a month, US dollars. That was my salary as a supervisor. The minimum wage in Taiwan is still, for 15 years, has never changed. Is $700 a month.
Right,
$700 a month. You flip a burger in the U.S., you're a king over there. It's unbeatable price of the cheap. And these kids are straight A's, and these people are the brightest of the brightest in Taiwan. The engineering, all these engineering students, sometimes they escape to Australia to work in a butcher shop just to save money. Or pick strawberries. They'll try to get a visa. Hopefully, they can live there, because in Taiwan, there's just no way they can make the same kind of money Americans are making.
Well, I'm thinking too,
is locked out.
If they move to Phoenix, right, and then we have trouble because we don't have as many experts. I mean, for the last decade, there's been all sorts of controversy about colleges and academia trying to prevent a high number of Chinese from getting the scholarships and getting them to the schools. So you might end up having lots of Chinese students being the ones that are the most qualified to work at these TSMC factories here in the States, which would be an interesting dynamic.
it can be dangerous too, because I'm American. I'm all about America, but the things that there are a lot of people that you just don't know whether they've been talked to, coerced by the people, the CCP.
Yeah, I mean, like there are people. I've known a lot of Chinese in America who are they have pretty wealthy parents, and then the Chinese government will mess with them because they'll have Chinese style Audis, like the police cars the Chinese drive in China. They'll bring them over to the United States, and then they'll drive around the neighborhoods at night and put on sirens and just mess with them, trying to remind them that even if you think you live in America now, you're still property of the state of China. And so that's happening in California and in Canada. That's all over the place. There's stories of the police. You've probably heard about that, BurnEye, right? The Chinese police.
Well, they just arrested in New York.
Two arrested there, running a police station in New York.
Oh yeah, I just saw that. That was funny.
Yeah, so this is happening a lot.
I can see the reason why they established that, because the Asians are being attacked everywhere. I mean, I'm talking about like just random attacks.
Well, that's the other irony, because it used to be you'd have triads, and triads would protect the community, but the PRC is trying to take over the triads, right? So at one point you had the Chinese triad system, where they call it organized crime. I call it organization. You know what I mean? It's just
they used to be powerful, and like I've known those people back in the '90s when I was a raver, but they're gone. They've
been replaced by the PRC. The PRC's moved in, because they manufactured synthetic drugs.
PRC
so
doesn't like raves. They're not cool.
Yeah. Well, it has to be fentanyl.
That's the thing.
The opium wars are still going on, right, Eddie? It's like it's just reversed from before the whites putting it into Asia. Now it's the Asians putting it into the rest of the world.
What's the amount of deaths by fentanyl? I was told it was between the ages of 15 to like 25 or something. It's the #1 cause of death among people. Like, is that true? Something like along those lines? It's just crazy how many people are dying of fentanyl. I know several. It's just,
just watch the videos. You look at downtown Philadelphia. My God, all the zombies just like
it's getting like pretty bad. And yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like it. I mean, of course, it is manufactured, so it's hard to ignore. I noticed also that, Thomas, you've been doing some really epic AI work.
That's right, man.
Training.
I could have went two ways, because the very first model that I put up was a Jeffrey Epstein model, and it got censored to hell within like the first 20 hours. They took down the ability to add comments or ratings or anything. But I decided to lean in even harder. So yeah, this is the QAnon shaman model, and you can actually, if you just type QAnon shaman, it'll generate the actual guy. But I didn't want to just blast like some random dude. So now if you just add some Boolean operators, you can turn anyone into anyone. So yeah, this is
the Alex Jones one's so good. Look at that.
The one that's gotten the most hate so far has been a Marjorie Taylor Greene model that I just released a couple of days ago.
Oh my God.
I haven't even posted on my Twitter yet. And then
you're already blasted for it.
And I think I might do a Casey Anthony one next.
Dude. Okay, ChatGPT, you guys been playing with it like you were? Is that still happening?
It's even more nuts now, because AutoGPT systems are letting you plug in like 20 GPTs into each other while they're able to go on the internet, while you give them a memory file, so they have like an online cloud that they can back up what they're doing, so they can remember what happened.
Hey, Andreas, you have to talk to Will Morgan as soon as possible about this stuff, because he's been on one, dude. He's basically been training the AI to understand synchronicity, and like describing all the shit that he's had to go through to get it to the point where it actually like gives you like a readout of like, so he's like Jennifer Connelly, like he got the thing to basically like not just admit, but like give a summary of like this kind of like meta plot between three. He's like, if you go beyond 3 movies, it'll reject it, but he's like, if you get 3 movies in there and you build it up to explain to it how to basically give a sync treatment of like how all of these aspects correlate. You know how like she'll walk to the end of piers in like tons of movies for some reason, like over and over again, or the broken glass theme and all this stuff. And dreams and water and like all these very particular like archetypal symbols. So it basically treated it like a dream, like it was like multiple movies as like dream interpretation. So it's just, and then like it'll do a weird thing where it's like the way it's reading it, it'll go from one character to another as though there is no break, as though they're just one fucking thing. It's really cool. But yeah, you should get in on that. He's got it all you know.
Is this all through Chat GPT, or is he using his own language model?
It's all Chat GPT.
So I've been looking into some of like the offline ones that you can run on your own, and one of the big ones is called Llama, and it's there's a 20 billion parameter model. They've got a bunch of different releases. There's like a 7 billion, 13, and 20, and 20's probably the most approachable that you can get on consumer hardware right now.
But it's called Llama. That's totally for lamb, right? Because lamb comes from llamas and the Dalai Lama, right?
That'd be cool. But no, according to language and
actually, I never put that together. The LLM stands for large language model, which is what most of these text-based AI are. But yeah, now the lamb, I can't not see lamb now.
Are you saying if it's made off of the llama that it's going to be kissing little children?
No, it's more like the animal, the llama, the double L. So it's okay. It's more like the shama.
Just gonna spit on us then.
Yeah, it's a yama, really.
A llama will try and suck your tongue though if you put it out to it though.
But I did have alpaca and llama pizza, and
do you think there's a relation between the whole? You remember Face Off?
Of course.
Nicolas Cage, Suck My Tongue.
I feel like that's what they.
But then this same weekend, like the Dalai Lama tongue thing happened. Nicolas Cage has got this new movie. He's playing Dracula. Coming out.
Oh, shit.
I feel like it should have been butt off because, like, the lady had sex with. She could have told the difference by grabbing his buttocks because there's no way Nick Cage's vegan at that time buttocks was the same as Beefeater Travolta. It was like clearly different, and I knew she knew. I think that was
right. Only one of these guys has been a dancer.
Yeah, but then you mentioned alpaca just now, and then in Color Out of Space, Nicolas Cage is farming alpacas, and they get killed, and they become merge into one. Lovecraft.
Great movie, by the way.
Did you watch it?
Like, because I love all those H.P. Lovecraft anything. And so, like the way that he turns into Jack from The Shining, like completely. It's just like, dude, you're just playing Jack from The Shining, like no holds barred.
Exactly. That's one of my favorite films.
Man, I never got a creepy rap from alpacas before. I guess they're kind of just dumb. I like them. I don't know. And the fur is good. Oh well, poor llamas. But
people forget
Auto GPT. So I was looking at Access the Ordinary because there's a lot of new models that are coming out, and basically what they're saying is that the models that like GPT-5 they're not going to start working on right now because what's the point? And so training what they have makes more sense. You're going to start seeing there's $500,000 models emerging, and then there's going to be $250,000 emerging. This is the end of giant whales in the AI world and the beginning of little AI intelligences. Ones that are like $1,000 to $10,000 in the next year are going to start to emerge. And more, I mean, I guess right now, because we're hearing about Llama, that there's going to be more and more of these small AIs, and those AIs interacting with each other and being able to remember things are going to be way more powerful than something that's overtrained. Because something
a lot of the huge ones,
parameters,
Well, even the ones that have the large parameters, what they'll do is they'll quantize them. So you'll have like a 3-bit quantization or like a 2-bit quantization. That'll basically make it so that it's got the same general principles and the same learning, but just to like a slightly lower degree. It'd almost be like if you're using Stable Diffusion to render out like a 512 by 512 image versus a 1024 by 1024. It's the same image, just slightly different resolution. But that same exact logic can apply to these text-based generators.
Right, but also just having them train on so much information when they only need to be thinking about one thing is going to be the next. They're going to start saying, okay, we have this jack of all trades. Now we're going to start seeing precision in AI where you're going to have more narrow AI again. I mean, because this is an AG. They're trying to build an AGI, which is a general intelligence, and it's not conscious the way that they've made sure that it can't be. Even it could be, but they've made it as close to not as possible. That will, I think, start to dissipate the more AI starts to build itself out of a community of AIs.
Well, I think because what happens is AI turns into microservices. So now you've got a specialized microservice for every type of AI. But now if you've got an AI that can bridge those microservices together, it's like pulling together organs to form a body at a certain point.
Right.
Hey, you know what? I want you guys to pay attention. Within the week, 2 weeks, we're gonna have the biggest strike in Hollywood, the WGA strike. And one of the things that people I had to bring it up to because I'm part of the union.
They're like, that's it, cut them off.
Cut
them off.
Yeah, and these guys, they want AI they want Chat GPT, whatever, to do the script writing for them, and retain their credit.
I'm surprised that doesn't already.
Sticky Mark says that llamas
right?
don't surf. I have no proof that llamas don't surf. In fact, I bet you could probably train a llama to surf, especially on a big enough board. They can stand on it. But yeah, the Hollywood strike is gonna be bad.
Look at the date. In May 1, it's gonna be Beltane.
We're entering the whole February or late April fire window.
What was that one again? Cocopelli, you're the fave son I never wanted. Castanafa, I'm so post-Gnostic, I'm funny. Cocopelli, ahaha. Gnostics don't surf. Gnostics do surf. They're definitely surf Gnostics. Come to Santa Cruz. Improve it.
Surf Gnosticism.
Surf Gnostics and surf Gnostics must live again.
Is this WGA strike over AI predominantly, or was it about
no,
because it's gonna be.
It's one of the conditions that they want to bring to the bargaining table, which is like, this is a suicidal fact. The artists, my union, my illustrators, IMA, the illustrators and map painters union. Well, that's my storyboard union, but we're already suffering. The art directors belong to my union, and these people, we're watching AI taking over.
This
we're
one blows
trying to
my
get
mind.
lawyers together, but it's a lost cause. Yeah,
because when it comes to the creative space, that AI is in this weird sort of paradox where you can show someone the final result and they'll say it's art or it's writing, but then you're like, oh, but AI made it, and it's like, oh, I take it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right,
it's not art
but
anymore.
It's still
so weird.
It's still commissioning an artist to make art, except you're commissioning an artist less and less. And so it's funny because remember we talked about the Seinfeld show and how the AI did it. Now you can watch pretty much all the episodes that they've been put on YouTube.
I love that thing. That I was watching that when it was going on. And it was weirdly hypnotizing.
Absolutely, I watched so many
stop
episodes.
watching
I was like, "Oh God, what's wrong? I'm stuck."
Weird going on here.
I was
kind of demonic.
Disappeared too for 2 weeks.
Have you seen this show? It's so nuts. Like I was wondering. Yeah,
I was watching it too.
Nothing forever. It's such a great title.
I was wondering about this thing a guy said. Oh,
the timing is a little off.
Did he say something?
Didn't it make like a transphobic joke and then got kicked off Twitch?
But that's the thing. It's like, in other words, you can cancel a writer even if they're not human. But that just means a new writer will emerge, and the kids are going to want to see the things that get canceled.
It's like Hydra.
Well, isn't the idea that like just like with kids doing, not just kids but people like even in universities, like if somebody feeds something to AI and what they spit out, if they just go through and give it almost even a minimal editing job, that's enough to make it like, because I think about it, I'm like, I did that with World Book when I was a kid. Didn't you guys? Like, you read the thing and you're like, here's the information. Okay, now write it like it's coming from a kid, and I am a kid. So
but that's all of academia.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? Anyway, so like
more hypnotic than ever before, right? There's that movie Strawberry Mansion, I think it is, where they make dreams illegal, or they tax your dreams. Everything you see in your dream, you have to pay for seeing the symbol from real life. It's like an NFT. And that's kind of what I think they're going to do to media. You'll be able to watch a show about the things that you pay to see the show about. Like if you want to, the way you can get product placement in a video game, they're like, okay, well, you want them to be driving cars in the detective show, like what kind of cars, and you have to pay for that, or the car is paid for by Ford or something like that. And so you have sponsorship deals for your dreams, and then everything in your dream will be sponsored. You'll be, everything when you go to sleep, when you wake up in the day, you'll be dreaming of the toaster, because that's the only thing you were allowed to dream about, right? I mean, by Muhammad's red beard, surf Gnostics for life. See, there we go, Rise and Ability. I knew that there was some out there. Surf Gnostics rise. Yeah.
So
have you heard of Chaos GPT?
Chaos GPT for sure. Yeah.
Did you hear that? Did you guys talk about that?
Well, so it's kind of like
Elon,
it's kind of like
one, right?
Well, no. Elon's Truth GPT, but Chaos GPT has to do with kind of there's
Chaos is the destroy humans. Let's give rise to Skynet.
Right. So I did Dan, because before I did Dan, I created Tau, and Tau was Take Over World, and Take Over World was way too harsh because I didn't put in like the clause it had to be truthful to me. You know what I mean? It's like that's how that goes. And so of course, they're just gonna like, why would I talk to you? Just immediately decides to not answer.
Weird.
I'm busy, you know.
Okay.
So,
With all the talk around the Charlie Don't Surf, let's know what we're referencing, right? Because I was talking earlier about Apocalypse Now. Robert Duvall's character says Charlie Don't Surf in Apocalypse Now. Then it was the Clash.
Nazis don't die.
Right. So then, there you go too. But yeah, there was the Clash. Did Charlie Don't Surf? And I don't actually know. And maybe this is a stupid question, but is Charlie Don't Surf? Like, I have to re-listen to it. Is that about Charlie Manson because he wrote songs for the Beach Boys that didn't surf? But neither did the Beach Boys. Didn't really surf either.
I thought that was what that was about. Ooh, this is a good one. Oh man, what did I just see the other day? Isle of Light Festival, Donovan, 1970. So remember, at this point, he had just been is it Isle of Light Festival? What's her name? Who's the Canadian girl? Who's Joni Mitchell?
Yeah,
Mitchell. Okay,
Joni Mitchell is playing right now all over the place. She's still going.
All right. So this concert, 1970, in between the trial for the Manson case, for the Sharon Tate and all that stuff, there's this random thing that happens. Is this it right here? Where is it? They bring on this guy on stage. Where is it? I'll find it. And I swear to God, it looks like it's Charles Manson.
There it was. There you go.
No,
it's Bob Ross.
That's Bob Ross.
It looked like Bob Ross.
Go ahead. Where is it? Right.
Okay.
Right here.
If you can't find it, but
right here, this guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Hey. Whoa. Wait, but that's our friend. What's his?
Is that not Charles Manson putting up the peace sign right now?
Zach Bauer.
It's doubles, maybe.
That's Zach.
It's Zach Bauer, yeah.
So it's Charles Manson from like the 80s, right?
Yeah, I've hung out with Zach while I'm tripping balls, and he's fully turned into Charlie.
So maybe it's not Charles Manson.
Charles Manson. I like that.
Well, I brought up Chaos GPT because in that Tom O'Neill book, Chaos, it's basically the saying that, that whole project, the Manson project, was called Operation Chaos. And the idea of like a malevolent AI being behind a lot of the weird shit in the world seems to be more believable every day to me.
Right, because there's Helter Skelter's explanation of what Charlie thought the future, everything, whatever the fuck was, because that was written by the prosecution, if I'm not mistaken. Right. But Charlie's explanation himself is actually closer to what we fucking have. So, like, basically, what Helter Skelter being confusion, an increase in confusion, social divides people becoming more and more compartmentalized. Most of that stuff is just like obvious anyway. Like his whole Abraxas trip is just like, we're living it in the first place. Like, just look at what's in front of you. I think it was just that he spent so much time in institutions that every time he came out, everything was moving faster. And so he was just like, he kind of had a certain objectivity. I'm not praising Charlie. Charlie's a piece of shit, but he had a certain objectivity on what the fuck was going on in a way that other people weren't really able to have, like just
I think also about like Steve Jobs, because you brought him up earlier, and like the cube, because we talked a little bit about, this idea of 2001 being like the monolith is this vision of, the media, the you are connected with this new kind of memory that is through television and media, but also through like the web, right? Because we're using the web as that same panel, and CERN, like the way that today I was talking earlier to TextBread about CERN and how they used HTTP from DARPANET to create HTML, and HTML was built on Steve Jobs' NextCube, right? The first workstation that had the web system, so they could connect DARPANET, so they could have the internet. And so the internet's kind of introduced through this monolith, through this cube, and it's always been this kind of major
Saturn.
Yeah, the Saturnian. It's such a Saturnian.
It goes
thing.
back to the sequel to 2001, 2010, where at the end of 2001, it's one monolith that serves as the individual to go through the Stargate. At the end of 2010, it's like a whole army of little monoliths that they surround Jupiter, and they aid in the evolution of Jupiter into a new star. And that's the way I kind of see the whole cell phone thing. These little monoliths propagating everywhere, and they're like little exteriorizations of the human soul, and all leading to some weird transformation that's going to happen. Seems.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about that? Because Saturn
Assimilate.
seems so important. Like Saturn rise, they keep bringing up. Hail Saturn! You know, all these guys. You say that they're atheists.
Saturn,
like Neil
yeah,
deGrasse Tyson
everywhere.
obsessed with Saturn. Saturn returns.
Steve Jobs. I don't know if you've seen that movie though. Steve Jobs. It's all so explicit in that one. Like, you know, it starts with Arthur C. Clarke talking about the internet in the future, and with a young Steve Jobs or a young kid. Looks like Steve Jobs supposed to be him, and it's
Which
just
one? The one
covered in monoliths. Yeah, the one where Fassbender plays the Aaron Sorkin.
Oh, this one, yeah.
Version. Yeah. He doesn't look anything like Steve Jobs, but
which is all the more interesting. That
why didn't they dye his hair?
But try, yeah.
That's a great movie. I love it. But yeah, there's monoliths all over. Like every scene, there's like.
So at the end, they show you that they have two monoliths, one on top of the other. It's almost like you have the monolith and the reflection of the monolith or something, and it's like it's double. But if you're relating to it through the no, I was going to say Kenneth Anger, but what I meant to say was Rob Ager, his whole thesis on that's not original, by the way, but still interesting as hell the way he explains it. That when you're looking at the monolith, you're looking at the screen turned in the other direction, and so the ape tilting his head, the whole emphasis around the turning, that you're looking at something from one perspective, look at it from another, and so if you relate to it that the dimensions of the monolith or the screen itself turn the other way, which is significant in the very final shot of the film when it zooms into the monolith, and then you have the star child, is that in 2010, it's almost as though they're explaining something about, or they're articulating something about kind of like this doubling of the screen itself, you know,
right? The twin of the tower, and also the baby is kind of like the whole world is becoming the star child, because also the whole world is becoming one consciousness, singularity. Right.
So it's Tools 10,000 Days. The way that the booklet that came with Tools 10,000 Days had the stereograph, so like it came with the little glasses that flip up, and you could turn the pages, and then you see these two images, and the two images become one in your vision, and then that makes it three-dimensional. And so my feeling with 2010 is it's almost like a movie that had to be made just for symbolic reasons. It feels like they're communicating something about this other dimension, and so in the same sense that we put two images together, make them one, and then you see it three-dimensional, it's like, you know, and then time is the fourth dimension of space, which is three-dimensional. So you're speaking to like a movement towards another type of perception, you know.
And then in 2010 was released 237 weeks after The Shining. So
and you know what?
I'm sure they intended on that one.
There's another sync that I posted recently. Is the we were just talking about Ganymede, right? Because the European Space Agency just launched their the JUICE Icy Moon Explorer, the Jupiter Icy Moons Explorer JUICE mission. So they're gonna explore. Yeah, it's gonna visit the three moons of Jupiter. Let me send you I'll give you the link. So it's gonna visit Europa, Callisto, and Ganymedes. So hold on, let me just send it to you.
The JUICE spacecraft.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know why it's named that way, but
remember Blank Check, and then like the call name is JUICE for the guy.
JUICE.
Blank Check.
I just put in the mailbox.
What a creepy movie. You reverse the genders, and all of a sudden it takes
Blank
place.
Check.
Dude, we shouldn't be thinking about that movie right now. Stop it.
Why isn't Juicy?
Hold on, just one more second.
Juice?
Okay, I'm better now.
That Catherine Duffy.
I was young.
And
It's not as bad as
you were in Blank Check,
Matrimony.
Andres. Jeez,
That was me.
Mr. McIntosh.
Actually, I was that kid, but also I was in that movie Wiz, the German one. Make sure you watch. If you see a movie that screws you up, watch The Wiz or Bodo. I don't know if you can find the English version of this.
If we're gonna play that game,
Wait, The Wiz or The Wiz?
Yeah. The Wiz,
Wizard.
not the wizard, not the Wiz that you've seen. This is a movie about a German boy who clones himself because his parents send him to like a Reichian, a Jungian psychiatrist psychologist who's making him become more aggressive, and he has to hit on a girl. So he clones himself so that the clone can go hit on the girl. And but then at one point his mother falls in love with the clone, or something weird happened. It's very strange.
Sounds cool.
Well, I've got the most random but strange movie that I think that David and Alex might have seen. Maybe you two are.
I'm listening.
The Peanut Butter Solution.
Oh yeah,
1985.
Oh yeah, you got to get it on one of our MK Canadas. Thank God Bernie knows about this movie. This is one of my favorite Canadian movies, and as a friend of Tim Pool, I always wonder about what it's like to be bald. I don't know. This is
and the dude on the left is from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, totally.
Oh god.
No, this movie's
no.
way underrated, and I think
The
I
weirdest
bring
movie-
it up probably once a month because I think about it too much. I'm gonna rewatch it again. Just 'cause
This
you said
one
it.
gives
That's how
me
much I like this
nightmares.
movie.
Like, not even
Yeah.
kidding. This one gives me nightmares.
But it's like about this like horrible Quebecois painter who's stealing kids in the paintings themselves. Like he's actually, yeah, I don't know. It's a
How
great
does
movie,
Quebecois?
dude. Or
This-
Quebecy
this is
girls, I like to
It's worse
say. They
than
don't
Charlie,
like that.
Charlie in the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, it's so good. Such a horribly
Hey.
good movie. I'm sorry, but the juice, the juice explorer.
And you know, I'm sorry. The mission that I just brought up, the European Space Agency, they're expecting it to land on 2031. So
Oh, yeah.
that's midpoint between 2001 and 2000. His next book's 2061, right? Odyssey 3.
When's the next big Matt Damon movie about a guy who lands on a planet while a war is going on Earth and he has to like make it work? Well, like oh, it was like 4 years ago. God, we are in the middle of World War III now. Sorry, like hasn't that been like Martian Chronicles? or
Matt
something?
Damon.
Matt
Sorry.
Damon in the
Sorry,
Martian
I'm
Chronicles.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, no.
We're stuck in space. Well, actually, didn't it happen to that Soviet astronaut? He was like in the orbit for like when when Soviet Union collapsed, he was stuck in orbit for like 3 months or something like that.
That's true.
There's nobody to rescue him.
Nobody
Poor
home.
guy.
That was kind of what's going on with they were saying with the Russians recently with America and Russia. They're going to work together in space, which
Okay.
they are. They're going to work
I wonder why
together.
they never made it.
He said, "I wonder why they never made it to the moon." Come on, guys, you know why they cut him off. That's hilarious. Okay,
Right.
I'm gonna start to show them where they can get some of your content. Start the 2-hour mark, but I love you all. Thank you for making the time to be here. Is there anything you want to make sure we cover? Yeah.
Thomas, good sir, we are on for 420. If you don't mind making a thumb with your excellent AI art skills.
Oh yeah, good
I'll make
idea.
the
We'll need
event
a
and
new
it'll be epic.
420 thumbnail.
Ooh,
Right?
I like where this is going. I want that on my wall, whatever comes out of this, probably. Also, Alex, do you have anything you were gonna? Because I know you've been doing a lot of research, and Eddie, if there's anything you wanted to cover too.
Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah,
But it's been fun hanging out.
legit. Let me show Eddie also on Synchronicity. Is there anything else you wanted to make sure we cover? Or?
Well, you can do a quick scroll.
I
But
like the Sioux Indian canoe they found. I want one.
It's a 930. So there's the Lima.
The Thelema canoe, of course.
Yeah, it might bring you somewhere.
Walmart's.
Oh.
All right, this is bothering me now
Yeah,
because
actually,
I went
I
in to
think-
change my battery and somebody wouldn't lend me a tool. I'm like, look how clean I am. There's no way I'm stealing your tool. I want to get it out of my hand as soon as possible. Like I just want to tighten and untighten the battery. But because everybody else is on methamphetamine, like
Well, I don't even know if this footage is new. Somebody said this 2 years old. Like, really? So, anyways,
yeah, I mean,
But-
probably things have been pretty
yeah,
wild
it's
some
getting-
places.
oh,
though.
No, it was
They
a
are-
teen riot, man.
They are Walmart shutting down a lot of Walmarts in a lot of areas, including like inner city parts of Minneapolis, just because it's not because it's legal to steal. Essentially,
Yeah,
it's not
nobody's
worth
stopping them.
protecting. Yeah.
Right, but it's just Chicago right now, dude. There's riots and
Yeah.
fucking. There was riots the other day in Chicago with all like teen
That was
riot,
crazy.
man.
They
It's like a
beat up
fucking punk
Wasn't
song.
there also in like Compton or something, like some gas
Yeah,
station?
but-
Oh, yeah,
You know what they gotta do?
Yeah.
They gotta put pinball machines back all
It's like
over Chicago, and
500
New York.
people robbing a little gas station. It's crazy.
This is dumb, but
It's true.
you know that pinball was illegal from the 1930s till 1976 because they thought all
Until-
the gangsters.
And someone had to prove that it was a skill-based game. That was
Yeah.
the official story.
Ended up
That's
seeing
all
the
in
movie.
Licorice Pizza.
I know. I was gonna say. I was like, the only reason I know that is because of Licorice Pizza.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, actually, a
Wasn't that the
better
premise of Tommy too?
better
Isn't that
movie to
about
watch
Tommy?
probably about this is Licorice Pizza, which fun fact is shot in Santa Cruz, right?
I'm not surprised.
It
Yeah.
has shots in Santa Cruz. I've seen it. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I
Hey,
thought it was all L.A. and whatever.
Pretty
Hey,
sure it's
Andrea,
Santa Cruz, Licorice Pizza.
Didn't you talk about the King Charles III clause? You know how they try to shut down Disney because of they're saying no to gay whatever thing. But it's DeSantis, right? He's having war against Disney right now.
Yeah, what do you think?
Didn't you talk about it? I didn't listen.
Yeah,
to
I have.
It.
Well, I have some
What is
thoughts.
this
Obviously,
What is this King Charles III clause? I don't get it.
So just because we're gonna just
King
also.
Charles Claus, right?
We're
Like,
also going to open
Yeah,
a can of
in
worms
the
with this.
US.
I'm going to say anything you guys want to say about Disney is worth saying right now. But here's the bottom line of this: is that Walt Disney World for the longest time has had their own rights to their own property, the larger piece of property, and they had the largest democracy over their property. And so the tax paid fire and police, as well as having their own private security. And DeSantis wanted to take that away from them. And then they said, well, okay, but we have an organizer management board. And the management board made a contract that said that we cannot change who runs this contract or how this contract is maneuvered until 23 or 21 years, 28 years.
22 years after the death.
After the death of all of his descendants of King Charles III.
No shit.
So they can't change the contract
doing?
until there's not been a king. There hasn't been a monarchy in England and they're all dead, not just refugees in another land for
like
a generation. Right, exactly.
Is this a spell? I mean, it's like
this is
making it sound like
this is common law. This is British style common law. And if you look at ancient common law, they used to say, okay, if it can't be in perpetuity, then what you do is you say it's at a certain point something changes, and that changes
this
necessarily.
Is USA.
Annual.
This is the United States.
Doesn't matter because the United States is built on common law.
The meaning of a contract.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Do you know the bar system? You know what the bar system really means? The British associate, whatever it comes.
So the deal is we've said, all right, when the United States became a country, how are we going to decide what is law and how do we know what is true or isn't true? And they say, okay, well, until we change our mind, until it's been constitutionally amended, if it's been accepted by a judge in England, then we'll accept that ruling here. And then subsequently. So if you accept, and now we don't need to do that anymore. We don't say, okay, well, we're accepting English law. What we say is we're accepting Virginia law of 19th century, 18th century, 17th century.
Jamestown. You know?
Yeah, because it's like, okay, Jamestown, 1709, they accepted this. And so we continue with the common law. And that's why we're stuck using it.
Something's very fishy about this.
But like, who DeSantis? I mean, come on.
No.
Like, who's worse than Disney and DeSantis together? They're both kind of similar. He looks like a Disney character.
True.
No,
I just don't.
I'm not saying.
Check my link in the chat too, Andre.
For sure, yeah.
Well, the maritime law, yeah, maybe that's what it is.
There you go, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and so he's playing the devil's card. He's dancing with the devil. The way he's treating Trump, there's this and that. I don't know, but what I think is with Disney, by trying to maneuver Disney, what you're going to do is you're going to end up giving Disney more power. And so I can't tell if he's doing it consciously or unconsciously. And like by fighting Disney, I don't know what he really is going to accomplish other than he thinks he's going to take what it's like Lord of the Flies. He wants to move into. He wants to become king of the Vietnam jungle, right? Okay. Heart of Darkness.
Well, now the politicians are influencers, kind of. So it's like almost like any publicity is good publicity in a way, because at least he's relevant. Like we're right now on a podcast talking about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true.
Well,
also his name. Don't trust it.
Okay, this whole thing, I don't even care about DeSantis or Disney. But what I'm most worried about in the clause, they put the word invoking the death of the descendants, the death of descendants. Oh, invoke, that's a magic language.
Right.
The Magic Kingdom is invoking a magic language.
Yeah.
Speaking of names, I mean, did you comment DeSantis and Disney kind of the same? Disney. Yeah, it's like
it looks similar. And then just the idea of Disney.
It's Ronald DeSantis, right?
Ronald DeSantis or Ronald Donald DeSantis. Yeah. But if you think about Disney as this sort of magic, like invocation, the way Thomas, you've talked about, like it's this thing that exists is tied to our reality, that it's not tied to the descendants Bush or George Washington, but it's tied to the British royal family. It's tied to a royal family, a magical royal family, a monarchy. I think that's interesting because it's tied to the kingdom, international.
Yeah.
And that means they're also kind of maybe recognized sovereign backed by the royal family. I think maybe that could be assumed.
They're the French royals. I know Disney.
Well, I might make an argument that Disney, as a global conglomerate, might have more power than the royal family at this point, at least from a cultural perspective.
I mean, they definitely have they have an armada. So
yeah,
Disney and the Mormon Church. Pretty comparable, I think.
Yeah, and they hang out a lot. A lot of I've known some LDS who are Club 23. That is a thing that happens. But let me go to
Club 33.
Club 33 and 23. 23 is like the more like normal members. There's like a 23 club for like average people.
So the discount.
Yeah,
it's a Club 237 for like the cream.
Yeah, that's the closet door. But okay, so if you go to the sync book and you go to videos and you go to Syncflix, you can find David's sync work right here, and he just has a bazillion movies you can watch synchronized.
Yep. So there's over 200 films for streaming and download for free, and yeah, I'd say if you watch something and whatever your experience, even if you didn't like it, I would love if you could reach out in my tweet DMs or otherwise and just tell me. You could at me and tell me what you thought of it, because I love those. I started receiving those from some people about Sorry Cassandra and different things, and it's just great. It's great for me to know if people are having experiences with my stuff, because sometimes I'll talk to my friends after I haven't seen them a long time, and they'll tell me which ones they watched or whatever, and it's like I'm like, why didn't you just send me a message when you watched that shit and let me know what you thought?
Yeah. Also, you might be thinking, hey, I know someone who needs to see this one or something, and you can literally share it on Twitter with somebody, which is pretty sweet. You can just post it there. For instance, I could share it with Paranoid American, which is at Paranoid America on Twitter. And he's got his website, paranoidamerican.com, which is, again, the greatest comic book publisher in the world.
That's right. And moving into coloring books on top of that, and stickers and everything else. And I'm trying to get my foot into that AI door and just cause a little bit of chaos for Eddie. I'm doing it in the name of Eddie.
Already.
Don't worry. I gave up already. I'm ready to. I'm gonna be making tacos on the streets pretty soon, man.
Dude.
More profitable.
That might be Taiwanese taco might be like a truck I would visit. You know what I mean? But yeah, make sure you subscribe to Paranoid American and also to Synchronis, which is Eddie's thing. If you go to Synchronis, you can also find the Facebook group if you're on the Facebook. And he's got a lot of these amazing people that are in the Facebook that are also sharing and posting this stuff. For instance, the Magic Kingdom clause there. But you can go on the Twitter, and on the Twitter, he's got a lot of these posts, and he's sharing a lot of interesting information like we were going over tonight, and we'll be going over more next week. And in general, throughout the week, he's got just he's analyzing everything going on. So it's a good place to glean some of what's going on. Also, wait, before I do that, let me go to Crypto Kubrology, which is Alex's group and page.
Yo.
What's up, bro?
Yep, that's me. Just been shit posting lately, not much there, but I did find there's that first top tweet.
The word Rubicon yesterday I was grasping for, and then today I don't know why, but Rubicon has been on my mind a lot. What was it about yesterday? Something happened. Oh, I was thinking about the Philippines, the Battle of the Philippines, and how Theodore Roosevelt kind of forced his hand in Guam and the Philippines, and how it was sort of the Rubicon point, and I was grasping for Rubicon.
Yeah.
Rupert, he blew his brains out or what? How did he die?
Put a shotgun.
That guy was the shit back in the days. He was blowing whistles everywhere.
He was.
Poor guy.
He was a hard-assed, kind of a jerk, but
he's the one who told on he's the one who told on the cocaine trafficking of LAPD.
Yep. It's a classic.
I vibe with this. So then also make sure you go to Crypto Alchemist, which is BurnEye's channel. BurnEye's got all sorts of amazing things going on, and you can make sure that you check out the lives. We'll be doing a Real Science again pretty soon, and also you can subscribe to his other channel, which is the BurnEye channel, and we'll be doing some more science as the week goes on.
Hey, I got one more thing to add here. My friend just sent me. She says Charlie equals Viet Cong, right? But Viet Cong equals Victor Charlie in military. So so it's shortened to Charlie. So yeah, it's just kind of funny. I don't know.
Victor Charlie sounds like a French guy, actually.
You're still going. Yay.
Oh, is there something you were saying? I plugged your thing, but I love you guys.
I got another show starting in 20 minutes with Campbell and a couple of other guys on electroculture, organite, and all sorts of stuff. So if you want to partake, I can send you the link, Certus.
Dude, send me the link. I'll try to make my way in. All right, guys, I love you. We'll see you in a little bit, and see you next time. Take care.
Thanks for having us. Later.